then there you go.
Yeah, so now it's recording. Okay, so let's see.
See, it's hard to start.
Podcast 1, go!
Podcast number 1. So this is mAltIntel with our first podcast.
Should we introduce ourselves? Say who's here?
It's true, we should.
So we do have a few authors on the site, but we only have 3 people here currently. To my left is Matt.
Hi,
I'm Matt.
Wait, which Matt are you?
Matt M.
We got Matt M on the left, Matt R in the middle,
And Paige K on the right.
with the cat in her lap,
Of course.
and her slime from Dragon Quest, because they're best friends.
We'll have to put a picture of her with the slime so everyone knows what we're talking about.
Well, this is true. The entire podcast could have just a picture of the cat with the slime
It's true.
on YouTube.
When we're playing it back, because what else would you want to look at when you listen to the 3 of us talk?
Other than a cat with a slime.
Especially Sid, that cat. Especially that cat, yeah.
With her best friend, the slime.
Of course.
So, I don't even know where I got the idea for the website. I can't even remember where the idea came from.
Yeah, I just remember you telling me out of the blue.
I sort of told everybody out of the blue. Do you remember where the idea came from?
I mean, it was kind of out of the blue, but I can definitely see where it came from. I mean, every day you check your regular websites that you always go to, and I think it made sense for you to make your own that was like a cohesive place where you could look at all of the news you were looking for instead of going to 5 different sites to get everything you wanted.
That was very true. This is very true. And most of those sites do not have anything to do with beer. You look at sites such as like IGN, Kotaku, Destructoid, those gaming sites. And I mean, they all do cover video games and comics and movies, but none of them actually touch on beer. And beer is becoming quite a big thing. Well, the craft beer, not any of the crap beer.
Craft beer, not crap beer. There you go.
That should be a bumper sticker. We'll remember that.
And you have some experience writing in the past,
Yep.
so this isn't anything new.
No, I used to write for Consequence of Sound. They are a music blog. They're actually starting to make it very big, but they really only focus on the mainstream aspects of music. They actually have a great festival outlook that covers all the festivals in the entire world, so that's actually really cool. They're the only ones to do it. But yeah, so I wrote for them for about a year and a half, and really got a lot of writing done there, which really got me started as a journalist. And I know you have, or Matt M writes for a Liverpool blog.
Yeah.
Because he's a big soccer fan.
I do like to talk about Liverpool. You just tell me to talk about anything, I'll just kind of just go with it. I like to talk about stuff, so this is cool.
Must have been a random tidbit. But and then Paige writes for Kitchen Psychology.
Kitchen Psychology is my personal blog, and I've always kind of had a hobby of cooking and baking, and I'm studying psychology, so I thought that it might be cool to have a little blog about both of those things, so that's what I do.
And we'll be on the beer part of the website. We will be sharing recipes from her website that do include beer. So we will have a recipe site up once something goes up that includes beer in one of her recipes. Now, our title, mAltIntel, or the name of the website, it starts off with a lowercase m and goes into a capital A to stand for AltIntel. The website was originally supposed to be called AltIntel, standing for Alternative Intelligence. But AltIntel was taken a million times, was taken all over the place on the internet.
Damn.
And so I came up with a nice, clever play on words. It deals with malt, the one of the major beer ingredients. I mean, there are only 4: grains, yeast, hops, and wow, I'm drawing a blank.
Malt.
No, the malt is the grain.
Water.
Yes, I think that's water, Hops, yeast, and grain.
I think that was like 7, but go on.
What? Water, hops, yeast, and grain? That's 7? That's 4. So mAltIntel we settled on, and we just purchased the URL last Sunday, or this past Sunday, however you want to understand that, and we've gotten
We've gotten rid
we started strong on it, even though we currently only have been talking about music and beer. But we do have a lot of things up our sleeves coming very, very soon. We just got to get everything in order.
But more on that later.
Towards the end, we will go into what's coming up. But so the first few music reviews, they were actually done by Matt M, sitting over here on my left, and he reviewed the Every Time I Die album, the new one, X Lives, and he also reviewed the brand new Cursive album, I Am Gemini.
Gemini.
I am Jiminy Cricket.
Not a big
I
horoscope guy.
I am Jiminy. And yeah, the album, I mean, it really deals with Pinocchio. It's a concept album about Jiminy Cricket, Pinocchio, and Geppetto.
Yes. Majority of what you just said is true, but go on.
And I don't know, what do you have to say about both of the albums?
Well, they're both pretty good. So, Every Time I Die's album, it's more metalcore, southern metalcore. And, you know, if you are into metalcore, then you're really going to enjoy the album. I highly recommend it if you've listened to anything from them before. It's probably not where I would start with them.
Well, you know, what makes them metalcore?
The metal and hardcore elements. I mean, they've got, you know, more of a metal rhythm section, but there's a lot of hardcore vocalization on this. It's really riff heavy, like you hear in a lot of metal bands these days. They're more of a hybrid band in that regard. But you know, they're one of the best in the genre right now. We talk about it all the time, putting them right up there with like Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yeah. But I mean, in the metal world, metalcore is sort of looked down on, that genre. You know.
Would you like to expand on that?
I can't fully expand on it. I know there are certain bands that are directly tied to the metalcore genre that are not respected in the metal world.
Devil Wears Prada.
Maybe that is one of the bands. You know, it seems, well, at least to me, that they're more, those kinds of bands are more oriented with scene kids and you know, screamo bands than actual pure metal. And you know, Every Time I Die, they've never really struck me as a metalcore band. If the definition truly is metal and hardcore, then yes, that is what they are. But you know, I would really like to say that they are just a very sludgy southern hardcore band.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of sludge to it. There's some heavy grunge with a lot of when the guitars get heavier.
Definitely gets a bit grungy.
I guess I'm sort of looking at metalcore more by definition of metalcore, but you can't really put them with the pact of what metalcore is these days, or what it's considered, or what you're going to see at Warped Tour these days.
Yeah, you know, and seeing Every Time I Die on the Warped Tour bill still is very strange. I think Warped Tour has definitely gone in a different, more mainstream direction.
I would certainly agree with that.
I think they've lost their original roots, which really was grounded in metal, punk, and hardcore. You know, Dillinger played in 2010, and when I went, there were literally 7 to 10 people at the stage watching them play. I mean, Dillinger is one of the leading, you know, bands in mathcore, metal, hardcore music right now, and I mean, there were eight people watching them. You know, it's a little sad. So, yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, the album's called X Lives. You know, if you are like me, you appreciate good lyricism. You appreciate somebody who's obviously taking the time to be clever, witty, without coming off as cheesy. You know, there is a fine line there. Keith Buckley is definitely a vocalist you want to get behind. I think it's great. Like I said, if you're new to the band, you may not want to start there. Get into some of their previous works. Check out the song, maybe Werewolf, for example.
Definitely off of Big Dirty.
Yeah.
That is my favorite album by them.
That is a great album.
Although I have not listened to all of them.
Yeah, but ease yourself into it, and if you're into that stuff, I highly recommend X Lives. And then I Am Gemini by Cursive.
I Am Jiminy.
I Am Jiminy. This is a band that they definitely well versed in terms of concept albums. They've had numerous ones. You may, like me, have heard The Ugly Organ. That's a fantastic album, probably their best. And this one's like nothing different from their other ones. They're going on this heavy concept lyricism. They're really sticking to it, not caring too much about throwing out these radio singles, trying to find these hits, throwing a bunch of filler around it.
Well, you normally don't hear Cursive on the radio.
That's true.
You don't see them anywhere in the mainstream. They've opened for I mean, I don't know who actually else they've opened for, but they opened for Mastodon, I believe in 2007, and I mean that just blew my mind. The music is really not. I'm not going to say on par because that's more of a criticism. I'm going to say, I mean, it's definitely not in the same genre as Mastodon.
I was just about to say, opening for a band like Mastodon, that's sort of, you wouldn't think somebody off Saddle Creek would be opening for Mastodon ever in any sort of alternate universe. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, they're like post-hardcore, indie elements. They're definitely not mainstream by any means. They sort of know what they want to do with their album, and they know how to convey it, and that's one of the stronger points about it. Tim Kasher, the main songwriter, he's got a story to tell, and he knows the way about going to it. Does a really good job of, telling this story, and he's telling it through these two different twins, but he does it without really hindering any sorts of elements of the song itself. They still end up being good tracks while, they're telling this story. And he bounces back and forth from the perspective without getting confused, without getting lost in translation. Doesn't have to change his voice when he's talking about the evil twin as from the perspective of the good twin. It's done really well. There aren't any just amazing jaw-dropping songs here, but it's really good consistent. Where with, say, the album before, Mama, I'm Swollen, it was more of a roller coaster where there were some peaks, there were some valleys. I think on I Am Jiminy, it's more of a straight shot overall, and I think it makes it the stronger album because there's nothing really weighing it down. It's really easy to sit down, listen to it, enjoy it. So
yeah, no, that's great to hear.
Yeah, good for Cursive.
Good for
But
Cursive.
That's not all we have reviewed on the music. There was actually one posted today, was there not?
There was, but real quick before we get into that, so Matt M is going to really be focusing on, I mean, how do you want to put it, like the punk, indie, post-hardcore bands. I mean, do we want to put a sort of like say what we're going to be doing?
Well, I mean, I definitely have.
Do you want to put a label on it?
I'm not going to put labels. I don't believe in labels. No labels. But, I mean, yes, around that genre. But, I mean, I'm sort of open to all sorts of music. If there's something that I'm going to be interested in, I'll write about it and give it a fair shot. I definitely have things that I lean towards. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything. There is a What's Up Next coming up that we'll talk about. But, I mean, yeah, definitely you look at Every Time I Die, you look at Cursive. That's somewhat of a representation of what I'd be into, what I'm going to be reviewing. The things that I am going to be, I'm going to have an opinion on. So, yeah, to an extent, that's pretty accurate.
So, he's got that going, and I hope to add a lot of stuff about extreme metal and all of the different genres that go with that, post-rock and post-hardcore, black metal, and all the different genres outside of that area. So those are definitely coming. You don't get releases like that every single week. So, I mean, Cannibal Corpse did just drop, but I'm definitely not well versed with their back catalog, so I don't know if I really want to go and write about it. And Paige is she listens to a nice, a good eclectic mix of music, and she just reviewed the new Shins album.
Port of Morrow.
Ports of Morrow. Port.
You're just all over the place.
Port
today.
Brewing of Morrow.
No, just Port of Morrow.
Port Brewing of Morrow. I'm Jiminy. Ex-wives. What are you doing?
Ex-wives.
What are you doing, dude?
They should have named that album Ex-Wives. That would have been great. Ex-wives, and instead of a punk kid getting bashed by the cops, just some wife getting hit by her husband.
That's terrible.
Wow.
Is that terrible?
You just took it a little
It's
far.
called Ex-Wives.
We do not support domestic violence.
Maybe sometimes.
Domestic beers, but not domestic violence.
No domestic
What is
violence.
that? Tell everybody out there your joke about domestic beer.
Yeah, I like my beers like I like my violence. Domestic. Yeah.
Not funny.
I said that. Don't let them think that Matt R. or Paige or anybody else from mAltIntel would ever have that opinion. That was my own original thought.
But that's not, just because it's a thought does not mean it's an opinion.
It's true. It's true. This is all for show.
Yeah.
All for show.
We like to shock value. We like going for that. But yeah, back to Port of Morrow.
So, Port of Morrow. When we came up with this whole idea of this website, I wasn't sure what I would be writing about in general. But, we got together and we had this meeting and we were talking about the music and I'm the only female author for this whole site. So, obviously I'm going to have different perspectives and interests than all these other guys. So I said, well, am I going to talk about the things I like, or is this going to be very male-dominant? And what ended up happening is I got the okay to talk about what I want to talk about.
Well, let's not add like a feminist twinge to the entire thing.
How is that feminist?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of females
I'm
out
the
there.
A group of males silencing the female.
There's
You have
a
now
lot
been liberated.
Yeah.
You can now talk.
You are now allowed to talk about this. There's a lot of females out there who are really into the stuff that we're into.
I think there was just sort of, from some of us, a general idea of what would be on the site. And then
mainly from me.
And then after further discussion, the general consensus came
After
to be...
she beat me.
Yes, I was here, I witnessed it. And...
Never happened.
I think the general consensus was that, we wanted it to be sort of representative of all of our tastes and all of our opinions, all of the things we like, as opposed to one certain person's. So that's what we mean by you were allowed. Not so much given permission.
I wanted to focus more on extreme metal. Take a magazine like Decibel, and they have a huge following, and I really wanted to focus more on that. But with other people who are not so interested in extreme metal, we had to obviously broaden our horizons a little bit for the website. So, the female was allowed to write about what she wanted to.
So, of course, when the Shins decided to put up Port of Morrow for streaming on iTunes, I was very excited.
Great marketing. Great
Marketing. I think it's a great marketing strategy. I think more bands should follow their lead, and I think they're probably getting a lot of pre-orders by doing this, and people are definitely happy to preview the album before it's even out. I've been hearing the single Simple Song on the radio and at work quite frequently, so I knew this was coming, but I did expect to have to wait for the release date, so this was a nice surprise. However, the album overall disappointed me. I've been listening to the Shins for almost half of my life at this point, and I always have really enjoyed them, and this disappointed me. I'm not quite sure where they were going with it. I'm thinking maybe they were trying to explore new things in terms of their lyrics and their lyrical content as well as the vocals, but I think they were pushing it, and it wasn't the Shins that I know and love. But, I mean, it's hard for me to talk about it. Writing the article was really hard. I'm new to reviewing music, so this was my first music review ever.
But she did great, by the way. She really wrote a solid review on the album.
A fantastic debut. I'm gonna
Thank you.
Great
Thank
review.
you.
give an applaud. Yeah.
But
Once that female got off her leash, man, I swear.
Yeah, I swear.
She
We had to
took
give
it
her.
far.
We had to give her permission.
Yeah, the permission. Yeah, I mean, you know, you really got to understand that we just really gave her permission to do this.
anyway, so I mean, there's what seems to be an attempt at a ballad, which just made me uncomfortable. There's a song that seems to be
how
political.
did you feel uncomfortable? Like he was trying to like rape you or
Wow,
something?
this is really awkward. You're
Well,
getting a little close to me right here.
I have a vocal background I did choir for 5 years, 4 years, however long it was, and
Let's not discuss the craziness of that
I'm
whole
just saying,
program.
I have vocal training, so I know when somebody's pushing their limits, and that's definitely happening on this album in several places where they're just trying too hard, and it makes me uncomfortable as someone with vocal training, hearing them push too hard past their comfort zone, and it just doesn't sound good. It sounds like he's uncomfortable, and that makes me uncomfortable.
Well, you know, it's probably the producer saying, you know, you need to hit it, you need to hit it, you need to hit it, throwing something at the glass.
Yeah.
Like on the Glassjaw album, Everything You Want, Everything. I'm botching it, man. I don't know the album title very well. Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About Silence.
Everything you ever want to know about silence.
That's it.
Yes.
I mean, that may be the case. It may have been producers on their ass or whatever. I don't know. But whatever it was, it was not what I'm used to hearing from them.
Well, you know, from what I gather, the Shins, they really were a part and a major player in the indie movement when it first began. Their music was very wacky, sort of. I mean, it was upbeat and happy, but there was a strange feeling and wacky feeling to it all.
Yeah, and if you're not really listening, that's what Port of Morrow seems like at first.
Yeah.
But if you are listening critically, that's not what you're getting. I mean, they seem to be giving off some political messages. I mean, you'll see, I think they're talking about Occupy Wall Street in one of the tracks. There's another track about this horribly sad child who has, like, disengaged parents. They say the father's second home is the bar. It's just really sad, and it's not.
So this is
what
the
I
Blink
wanted.
182 Stay Together for the Kids Shins.
Well, I mean, that's only one track. You can't base the whole album
That pissed Matt off a little
off
bit.
the track, but
No comment.
it just it was not what I wanted to hear from
Well,
them.
okay. I mean, what I didn't get to finish saying was that this is sort of the non-indie Shins. They're not indie anymore. They're they're really big now. They're being really produced. I mean, the production on the album is probably much better than the past 3 albums, or I mean, better than their first 2 at least.
Yeah, I mean, Wincing the Night Away definitely had high production value.
So that's the third one.
That's the third one.
Okay.
I think that most people who have been listening to the Shins since they began back in 2001 are probably going to have similar feelings as I am, and if we are going to look to listen to the Shins, this is not going to be the first choice album, this isn't going to be the second choice or even the third choice. Like, this is going to be the last option. Because it's just not as good, and it's not the Shins that everybody has grown to love.
You know, it's too bad that bands cannot stay. Well, I don't want to say stay the same, because playing the same music over and over again would definitely get boring over the years. But I mean, you know, you look to a band like the Melvins, who just released a brand new EP today for free.
Great tie-in there. Way to tie that in.
Thank you.
You're gonna remember
I
it?
was born to do this.
You were thinking of that one for that 8 minutes ago. You thought about how you're gonna tie that in.
All 24 minutes of this post, I've been thinking about where to tie it in at, and I mean 24 minutes and 49 seconds. So, Yeah, they just released a brand new EP. You can get it on scionav.com, I believe. But, you know, they first started playing, I believe, in 1983. And they have been playing... they've been playing definitely the same genre of music, the sludgy punk, heavy stoner rock for the entire time. But, I mean, you know, I don't really know how to... They've kept things interesting for all the many years they've been together. You know, they combined with a band called Big Business. It made the Melvins a 4-piece group when I think originally they were only 2 or 3. It added another drummer, so they have 2 drummers. And this new EP, I will be reviewing it on the website in the coming days. And there will also be a link to it on the website probably tonight, so you guys can go check it out. But from what I hear, it's pretty damn good. So you can look forward to that as well.
So what's next on the...
Well, let's work in another tie-in. So the Melvins, I mean, you can really drink really good beer to that music.
I'm sure a lot of their fans drink.
I'm sure they're huge craft beer drinkers.
I'm sure they are.
Some of them are probably crap beer drinkers too.
Speaking of craft brewing...
Speaking of craft brewing, we also review beer on the website.
Oh, wow.
We also drink beer during our podcast.
We also drink beer during our podcast.
There's beer being consumed.
We allowed the female to step outside of her cage and grab a beer.
We are so not traditional. We are not sexist. The men are not drinking anything.
Yeah.
No, but it is the woman drinking something.
Yeah. This is liberation.
We are so free, spirited, open-minded.
I deserve this beer. I just worked 9 hours today.
Yep.
That is definitely a beer that is deserved.
I'm drinking a Great Divide Brewing Co. Wild Raspberry Ale, and it is fantastic.
It's really good to hear. You should probably maybe write your own review about it.
I would love to.
That sounds like a good idea.
Too bad this is the last one and we never poured any in a glass for a photo.
In the future someday.
You guys will get one later. You guys will get a review later.
Oops. Google image search.
But I believe we have like 5 different beer reviews up so far. Maybe 4 and a beer journal. I am a home brewer, and I did start a homebrew journal that is not a recipe book. It is not a how-to guide. It is really just a place for my thoughts on the brewing process. That will also slowly educate you guys over time on different topics of beer brewing, such as different definitions, or I'll show a setup of my sanitizing setup. Show you a setup of my sanitizing setup
mechanism
doodad that I made.
Thing.
You know, Pee Wee Herman when he wakes up to have his egg cracked and cooked. That's what I made. But, yeah, so slowly educational, not fully educational, but it will definitely not hint.
It will.
It'll definitely discuss many and all of the different topics of beer brewing.
So it won't hint it. It'll be straightforward.
No, I'm going to hide all of the different topics.
Yeah. It's a game.
You guys have to take your secret decoder rings.
Okay.
It's a riddle.
Like in Batman Arkham City, you have to
get the little Orphan Annie decoder on your can of Ovaltine
that tells you to brush your goddamn teeth.
There you go. That's it.
And be sure not to shoot your eye out with the Red Ryder BB gun.
Don't shoot your eye out.
Yeah, that would be bad. But so we're going to be constantly updating with beer reviews, constantly. I think we should be having a beer review one every night, maybe even more than that. So you may start seeing a lot of beer reviews. I mean, it's not a may, it's a definitely. So if you're huge on beer, definitely become a regular to our site, because there's constantly going to be content for you.
Or even if you're not, become a regular to the site.
Yeah, of course. Even if you're not, we have so many other things going. Yeah.
There's something for everyone.
There's something for everybody.
Little categories. You can... Why bookmark the whole one? If you don't like everything, you can just bookmark one of the categories.
You can just bookmark the Super Saiyan anime.
Yes. Page. The Super Saiyan Mass Effect 3, which we'll talk about eventually.
But it's not Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
too bad.
Wah, wah.
But, yeah, actually, that's a great lead into the games.
Yes, video games. They exist.
We're also covering video games, so as you can tell, we're going to be covering a ton of shit. Comics, video games, anime, beer,
And by a ton
film
of,
and television.
And by a ton of shit, he means a ton of stuff. We're not going to be covering
Are
shit.
we catering to 7-year-olds on this podcast?
I just, some people are really into shit, and I it's not going to be on our website. This isn't the website for you. If you are into fecal matter, this is not the website for you.
If you are a scatologist.
Yes. There are other websites for that. So you were saying about video games, go on.
Is there an I Love Poop website?
Probably called I Love Scat.
Mm-hmm.
Is scat a word for poop?
Scatology.com. Go check it out.
So
it's
scatting-
a scientific term.
So when
for
somebody's scatting,
shit.
it's not some jazz blues mouth device. It's poop.
Oh, I hope not.
No.
When they're
That
scatting,
is-
they're
that is-
pooping.
Two terms for the same... One word for
No.
different terms.
Maybe that's where it originated. Maybe scatting. People called it scatting because it was just
Because
like throwing
people started
shit
saying,
out of their
"Doody,
mouth.
doody, doody, doody."
Well, this history lesson has been fantastic.
Don't research that. Just go with our word.
Yeah, don't trust.
Go
Don't
to
trust our knowledge.
Go to
We're
class.
like Wikipedia. It can be coming from anywhere.
Ooh.
Actually, that I sort of feel that that's just what teachers tell you in school, that it can come from anywhere. But I mean, they do directly link to other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
that's-
are references at the
That's
bottom.
that's the key. If you want to cheat and use Wikipedia, don't use Wikipedia. Don't cite Wikipedia.
Yeah,
You
go
just
to
go
their
down
references.
to the little numbers,
Scroll down.
pull their sources, and quote the sources.
That is
So
how to cheat in
easy.
school, everybody.
There you go.
Loophole.
Yep. There you
Black
go.
hole.
Black hole. Black gaping hole. Go on.
Scatting through the gaping hole.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. And now we're back from that commercial break.
Commercial breaks. We should definitely have commercial breaks that show like 30 seconds of different music clips or something.
It's not a commercial.
So we were
Would
talking
be a
about
commercial.
we were talking
I
about
guess it could
gaping holes,
Black holes and scatting and different things like that.
Video games.
Video games.
Why haven't we had a lot of video game reviews?
We have not
How
had
do
a
you
lot
not
of video
put
games
that there?
reviews, and I shouldn't put the notebook on the spacebar. It'll cut you guys to another commercial. We will not be covering a ton. We will not be reviewing a ton of video games because we are paying for everything ourselves, and because we are college students, we can only really purchase and review the games that we are truly interested in
and
that
can
we
afford.
and can afford.
Although, if anybody from GameFly is listening to this and would like to sponsor us, you can find our information in the Contact Us link on the side of the page.
We're going to flesh that out a little bit more, but as of right now, our mAltIntel@gmail.com is the place to contact us if you're listening to this GameFly.
And they can tweet us as well.
You can tweet us. We would love to start a partnership.
What's the Twitter? For those who don't know.
The Twitter is @mAltIntel.
Yeah. So
So just
At
at
Malt.
us.
you can at us.
You can also hashtag us and make us the most trending thing in the world.
Yeah, let's trend mAltIntel.
Let's trend
Let's
it.
trend it.
But so we're actually on the podcast. We're going to be on games that we do purchase, but that don't want to write up a full review of. We will be discussing them on the podcast. So tonight we're actually going to be talking about Street Fighter versus Tekken for a little bit.
I thought you were going to review.
No, it's
We were gonna review Street Fighter vs. Tekken.
we were going to
but-
review it, but
Do we have an excuse why we're not going to? We'll think of an excuse.
well, I mean, this will be our little review. We don't have a ton of time to get really, really involved with a fighting game and learn every single aspect of it. So we've spent about, I would say, 15 hours maybe playing it overall. And obviously that's going to continue over time. But
we can give our first impressions.
we can give
of it.
our very, very first impressions. And while there are other reviews out there, these are going to be the most personable
Yes.
because all the other ones are paid for.
Yes.
So Street Fighter versus Tekken. I'm a huge Tekken fan.
I'm a huge Street Fighter fan.
He's a huge Street Fighter fan.
A match made in heaven.
And Paige,
Opposites attract.
Paige just mashes buttons.
I'm a great button masher.
She actually is. She beat me once or twice.
I don't know how I do it.
But so this is Street Fighter versus Tekken. They will be coming out with a Tekken versus Street Fighter later on down the line.
Maybe we'll review that one.
Maybe because
no promises.
Yeah, no promises though. That will be made by Namco. This one is made by Capcom, who makes Street Fighter, obviously.
Duh.
And so the Tekken characters are on the, I believe they call it the 3-button fighting system. There's light, medium, and heavy. Obviously, there's light, medium, heavy for punches and kicks, so it makes it a 6-button system. But I believe they call it a 3-button system. Now, Tekken is a 4-button fighting system, and does not have easy button presses for combos. You actually do have to string together all of your different moves to achieve one crazy kick-ass combo. So for Tekken fans jumping into Street Fighter vs. Tekken, there is a learning curve, which, in my opinion, is not so great, because people just jumping in from Street Fighter, they're going to know quite a bit already, move-wise.
But correct me if I'm wrong, though. If you're more into Tekken and you're jumping into this game, it may be easier for you to catch on with the Street Fighter way as opposed to the other way around, because of not having to string in combos. Oh, look at this, I hit 3 buttons and now I've just done an ultra. I mean, it's may
more
be a
simple.
little, it may be a little easy to acclimate yourself if you're more familiar with Tekken than Street Fighter.
That's understandable. That's definitely understandable. So that's a little bit about the fighting. The character roster, I believe, is great. My favorite character, Brian Fury from Tekken, is definitely not on the roster right now, but will be a downloadable character.
No Blanca.
No Blanca. No, who else are you complaining about?
No E-Honda.
No E-Honda.
Okay, if they show up in DLC, that's fantastic, but if you're going to have a game like this, aren't you going to throw the originals, the classics, in there, and then decide who out of the expansion characters do you want? I just feel like you leave Blanca out, and he's so recognizable, and he has many times been a poster boy for the Street Fighter series.
You better hope Blanca's not actually in it.
No, he's not.
Okay.
I mean, no, he's not.
Okay.
I'm about 87% sure.
87% sure. Maybe we should look it
No,
up.
he's not in it, but he should have been in it, and it saddens me.
So that's a little bit about the character rosters. They did just implement a new gem system, which is sort of a perk system. Think Call of Duty, but with way more options.
AKA crap I don't need in a game system. Sorry, this is my bias showing.
I didn't even really understand crap I don't need in a game system. That sounds like...
Game, end quote, system.
That just sounds like random crap they throw in, like a little antenna on the Xbox or something random, some crap you don't
Tell
need.
them about the games, because I'm just gonna bite my lip, because I don't like the gems, but you can tell them all about it. What are gems?
Well, gems, once a certain action is made by either you or the opposite player, these gems turn themselves on and make your character more powerful. They will make combos one less button. They will make combos only one button, to where you press one button and an entire combo will activate. They'll allow you to break out of throws immediately without you having to press any buttons, without you having to counter the throw. And if I kind of feel if certain gems are placed strategically to where they activate at certain times, it could really add more depth to the game. I think other people see it as a very cheap system that will allow you to really just beat the other opponent senseless.
Yeah, the one thing we discussed was, playing online, what DLC gems, which have been confirmed, how they'll affect online play. Some people have the Microsoft points, for example.
Yeah.
We'll cash them in, and we'll be suddenly doing one-button Hadoukens to someone like me who I'm using with what I have. I have the gem that activates when I block 3 straight times or something like that. And it doesn't even the playing field. But even in my experience playing, I just never. It wasn't, the gems weren't big enough on an impact on the actual match itself that I would really actually concern myself with making sure I activate one.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of felt the same way about Pandora mode, which is a new feature that Matt R will just hop in and talk about in a second. But as we'll get to Pandora mode, I feel like, it was really, really quick and didn't last very long. And it just didn't have the impact that it could have. A little anticlimactic.
Yeah. So the fighting system, it is in Tekken Tag Tournament form. So you do choose 2 characters, and once one runs out of life or health, the game is over. You don't go through both characters like you would in Marvel vs. Capcom, how you go through 3 characters. You do go through 2, you do only go through 1, so you do have to switch your characters accordingly so that you do not die with another character that has full health. Now, there are great moves that you guys can do. There is one move that strings together, I believe it's a super art, or that strings together both of your super arts into one major combo. There is also another move where it brings your other partner on screen, so you guys are fighting together at once, which is great for co-op play. You guys can go through the story mode co-op and do those moves to where you're both playing at the same time. And then Pandora mode is whoever activates, their life will completely run out. They will die, but it will bring out their next character, and that will give them major health boost, major power boost. It will just make them very, very powerful overall.
But it's temporary.
But it's actually very temporary.
You have about, what do you have? Do you even have 10 seconds?
I don't know.
You may not even have 10 seconds, and if you don't, it's basically a last ditch effort to steal a victory.
Well, I sort of feel that it's the amount of health that either you or your other partner had left when they activated it. So if they're halfway down, you're really only getting something like 5 seconds to defeat the other guy.
But the thing is, though, you would sort of use Pandora mode when you have very little health. You would never use it when you have full health.
That does make sense. So
because once it runs out, as I was just about to say, if you don't finish off your opponent and that health bar runs out, those 10 seconds go, the match is over, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's something that you would it's something you would use when one half of the team is about to get knocked out, and you just want one last little chance to see if you can swipe a victory.
Yeah, but the other character seems as if the other person you're fighting has to have a very low amount of health for Pandora to even help you out at all. So the Pandora for us seemed like a bit of a waste.
We used it a handful of times, but it never really got us any victories.
Never really helped us out.
Yeah.
But one thing we did absolutely love were the levels. The level designs were great.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, they were very dynamic, constantly changing.
I would tag out just so observe what was happening.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The game, because it's Street Fighter versus Tekken, it's the Capcom version of the game, it's tailored a lot like Street Fighter 4, the sort of comic-y type of character artworks, and the levels very similar to Street Fighter 4.
Which, by the way, the comic artwork for the Tekken characters make the Tekken characters look incredible.
Yeah, they're great, and the levels, though very similar to Street Fighter 4, are just leaps and bounds better than Street Fighter. It's not even a joke. There were interactive, well, I shouldn't say interactive, there were animated, I guess, levels in Street Fighter 4. You'd have hippopotamuses in the background shooting water or something, but never on the sense of never on the scale of I'm on the back of a runaway cart train with a huge
Rex.
Well, the Mastodon was coming after us.
Oh, the Mastodon, yeah. The T-Rex is at the final level.
The T-Rex also, there's like a Jurassic Park looking level as well. So definitely,
well, that's Antarctica with the Pandora's box.
Well, the one that looked like we were in the forest.
Oh yeah, that is sort of Jurassic Park-ish.
Yeah, so there are definitely some interesting levels. They all sort of tie into that Pandora's box.
Yeah, the search
theme.
for Pandora's box. the main story, Pandora's box falls from space, and the Tekken and Street Fighter guys either work together or work to stop the other players who are trying to reach Pandora's box and gain its powers. That is the main story. But overall, from what we have played, I thoroughly enjoy what we have played so far. Other people are raving about it, giving it 9s. I just don't feel it truly deserves a 9.
What would you give it out of 5, hypothetically, if you had to give it out of 5?
Out of 5? I don't know if we can review video games out of 5.
Well, if you gave it out of 5, and then I gave it out of 5, and we combined our scores and put it out of 10... I guess that wouldn't really truly work that way.
That would not, because if we both gave it 3.5, that'd be 7, which it definitely deserves more than the 7.
Yeah.
You
so what would you say though?
These 5 out of 5s.
What would you say it? Though?
I honestly think it deserves an 8 or an 8.5.
I didn't play enough to truly sit down and hang my hat on a very opinionized number. It was good. It was fun while I was playing it. But then again, I really liked Street Fighter 4, and I just feel like the changes, the new additions to this series, just didn't wow me. I would probably say around a 7.5, maybe an 8 if I really, really got into the gem system.
What wows him? WoW wows him.
WoW does wow me, and I'll probably be writing about WoW in the future. Actually.
If I have anything to do with it, he won't.
But wow, we spent all this time talking about Street Fighter versus Tekken, and I almost feel bad talking about SSX because I don't have nearly as much to say about it. But I'll say something.
Just throw out your general ideas of
I've played it for a few days. It's fun. It's something I can take in small doses. For those familiar with the series, this is the PS3, the Xbox 360 version of it.
This is the next gen SSX.
Yes,
it's
we're talking. We are hipper than ever. We are listening to dubstep. We are hearing remixes of Tricky. We are really modernizing this. The problem is it's a downhill racing game. It really is. There's no sense of challenge to landing tricks. There's no sense of challenge to trying to string together combos.
For me, it all seems like really just timing. As long as you're landing back on the snow without tricking, you're obviously going to land and continue.
But one of the good parts about it is...
if that sounded retarded to throw in there, then I apologize. It was all about timing, just like everything else.
One of the parts, though, that it does make up for it is the multiplayer aspects of it. If other people are playing the game, from other sides of the world, other people that you're friends with, or if you're on an online server, you can hop into levels randomly, play them, and see them on the same level, ski right by them. I think that's pretty
Snowboard right by them, not ski right
board right by them, slide right by them.
He's obviously playing SSX, which is ski something extreme.
I'm playing 3 Extreme, the little PlayStation 1 race game in the rollerblades. That's what I'm playing.
What?
Go Wikipedia that. But yeah, this will appeal to the people that have either, really, really grown up with the original or into that type of game. The people who just love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, not because it's a skateboarding video game, but because you can do a 900 into a McTwist and make it seem like reality. So if you're into those types of games, you'll love this. It's not too challenging, but that's just my first opinion. I'm not going to rate it or anything like that. I'm going to keep playing it, and maybe in the future I may chime in with something about SSX if I feel differently.
Well, one thing that really got me from what I've played is that the levels are real mountains. There are no longer fantasy levels, which was definitely a selling point for me. Snowboarding through a snowed-in city, I believe that was in number 1, was just mind-blowing for me, and it doesn't seem as if those levels are in the new SSX anymore.
Yeah, it's cool. It's this idea, we're going to conquer these these different peaks, these different mountains, and they're all legit places. I mean, it's really awesome, when you're snowboarding down a mountain and then an avalanche comes after you. There's actually a survival mode, which is pretty fun to play, where you are making damn sure that you're landing everything and being careful, because you wipe out, you're gonna die. So, or you get caught in the avalanche, you're gonna die. So survival mode is probably for somebody like me that's going to want a little more of a challenge, and it's just something that's going to be racing. But that's SSX, though. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
To bridge into what's coming up, we could talk about video games, as in Mass Effect 3. Do we have something coming up for that?
We definitely do have something coming up for that. I will be writing a review on Mass Effect 3. I was going to break it up into 2 or 3 parts, working with each 20 hours. So 20 hours of the first part of the game, 20 hours of the second part, and whatever is left, mainly the ending, hopefully, will be around that time. I was going to break it up into that, but I am only at the 20-hour mark right now, and with all these other reviews and things coming out, people talking about the ending, I may just save it for one giant review coming up, like in the next week, as I continue to play it and beat it.
Beat it off.
Yeah, I love beating off Mass Effect because it's just my favorite game series of all time.
Super Saiyan Mass Effect.
Super Saiyan Mass Effect. It's like Goku changing. So
I did feel that Mass Effect 1 going into Mass Effect 2 was like regular Goku finally turning Super Saiyan for the first time. Anywho,
and Nico, that is for you.
Nico, inside jokes here. Alrighty. But yeah, Mass Effect 3.
So we got that Mass Effect 3 review coming up, so you guys should check that out.
What else do we have coming up?
Let's see, we are going to be focusing on a lot about television in the next coming week. So tonight was the South Park premiere, which was not all that funny, but there will be a review of that probably tonight or tomorrow.
It was solid.
It was solid.
It was solid. No, it didn't blow us away.
Definitely better than most of the last season and the season before that, but we'll get into that in the review. Also coming up is the season finale of both Walking Dead and Comic Book Man, which is becoming a damn good show. So we'll be reviewing both of those.
Something to say.
Oh man, the cat with her little slime, which she doesn't have. But yeah, so reviews will be up probably Sunday or Monday for Comic Book Men and Walking Dead, those finales. We've got movie reviews coming of both 21 Jump Street and
Casa de Mi Padre.
Which looks just as retarded as every other Will Ferrell movie.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go into it with a little more optimism than that, but we'll let you know this weekend what we think about it. And then, what else do we have? We have music.
We've got a ton of music coming up.
You alluded to Melvin's.
Yeah, so there's gonna be a Melvin's review. There's a band called Meshuggah. They're an extreme metal band. I will be reviewing their album. It comes out the 26th or the 27th. I'm not too sure of March. So whenever we get a hold of that, we will be reviewing that. And also Mars Volta.
Everybody's favorite psychedelic band, the Mars Volta.
I think that's Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd is everybody's favorite psychedelic band.
My dad's favorite psychedelic band.
No, I think it's everybody's favorite psychedelic band.
Hey. I lost my virginity to Dark Side of the Moon, so if anybody's gonna comment on
Touche.
We're getting very candid. Let's gather around for a story, folks. No.
I lost my acid virginity to Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, there you go. Look, Dark Side of the Moon and how has it affected your life? We're going to be taking callers up next. That's the next segment.
We will be having Paige will be the psychologist during this section, because there will be quite a bit of emotion involved.
But yeah, no,
Mars Volta.
Listening to Mars Volta, processing it. I won't allude to how I feel about it just yet, but
because there's a lot to process in such a psychedelic.
There is. It's heavy stuff. You really got to.
It's not heavy stuff, but
it's not.
It weighs heavy.
It's not. Yeah,
It's like heavy, man.
My iPod feels heavier than it did before I put those 13 tracks on there. Anywho, Anything else music-wise?
I think.
You
You have stuff coming up. Paige, I think, is reviewing
I have
New
stuff
Girls.
coming up. I will not be reviewing New Girl.
You're not going to review New Girl.
I'll just be watching
You were
it.
doing...
Okay.
I'm too far behind on New Girl.
Okay.
Ah.
What are you going to do? Any shows for us?
I am going to do a show on, I believe, April 1st.
Bones?
Bones comes back
April
from a
Fool's
very
Day.
long
Just
break.
kidding.
Excuse me.
Watch for an April Fool's joke from us.
Was that a pun? Bones comes back from a break?
It wasn't, but nice catch.
Oh, that was...
Bones comes back from quite a long break, so I'll be reviewing that. I will be, as Matt said, Matt R.
Which one?
Matt R. told you about my food blogging. I will be giving you a St. Patrick's Day post with lots of beer in it.
Yeah, Guinness is in the beer.
A pint of Guinness for all.
Guinness is in the beer.
You'll be getting that this weekend at the latest.
It's in the cupcakes, not the beer.
And I also am going to be doing a, for those who missed, wrap up of Buffy Season 8.
Oh, that's one thing we didn't cover, comics.
Oh, yeah. We do have some comic...
That was a great
Awesome
tie-in.
tie-in.
We are, because
We're all about
now,
tie-ins tonight.
Hey,
now-
just
we're
keeping this
several-
podcast afloat.
We're several issues into Buffy Season 9, so for those
We're actually
you,
7 issues into Buffy season
I
9.
said several.
She
That's
said
fine.
couple.
No, I said several.
She said a few.
Well, this is all being
Anyway.
recorded. We can go back. But continue. We're 7.
So, for those who missed, I will be telling you all about Season 8.
We know there are a lot of
and-
Buffy fans out there.
And then after that post, I'll be getting you caught up through the 7 issues of Season 9.
Yes.
And then
issues.
hopefully from there on, I'll do a post every week. Or do they...
Every month.
Every month. Excuse me.
There you go.
As they come out.
When women get let off their leash, they...
Oh, no.
I wish it came every week.
But, because Buffy ended on television at season 7, not a lot of people have been following it, so we sort of want to follow that. Because we are big Whedon fans and we enjoy the Whedonverse. So we'll be following everything that he does.
It's not Whedonverse, it's Buffyverse.
Well.
Awkward silence. We're not going to go into
For
that.
everybody just to catch their breath on that one.
Yeah. That was something very controversial that she said. Please continue to listen to us, even though she said what she said.
You don't tune out.
Yeah, there's so much more going on other than the Buffyverse. There's Firefly and Dollhouse and all that other good stuff. Avengers now.
We're going to be having... What else is on board, though, in the near future for comic-wise? Anything Marvel-related, maybe?
Yeah, okay, well, let's not have these awkward transitions into what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just talk about stuff.
Okay.
Let's just calmly have a nice fireside
I
chat.
didn't want you to forget.
Well, I'm not going to forget. We can have an hour and a half long podcast if I can do it. I don't care. We can do it. But comics-wise,
Sid disagrees.
we are we have a huge Marvel fan writing for us, so he is going to be keeping up with Marvel, not in the sense not keeping up with Marvel with every individual issue. He's going to be keeping up with Marvel, the major storylines that truly change the universe. That's what he'll be keeping up with. We do have a introduction to the Marvel Universe journal that will be soon posted, probably tonight or tomorrow morning, whenever he feels like accepting his invite as a writer to our blog. I mean, website. It is not a blog. It is a website. I don't want to get typecasted as a blog.
Freudian slip there? Or is that just...
Scan them with the Men in Black.
Yeah.
With the Men in Black thing, please.
We're going to do a little rewind
That
there.
sounded
This
like
never
Star
happened.
Wars.
Well, that's, like pew, pew, pew,
Pew,
pew.
pew.
Pew, pew.
You've never heard anything. Go on.
So we've got that. We're also going to be covering the DC New 52, which is amazing. There are some great stories. Some of the best stories DC has ever done is really going on right now. Swamp Thing and Animal Man.
Swamp Fangs.
If it's a ghetto Louisiana Swamp Thing, yeah, Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing.
The new Batman is phenomenal. Scott Snyder is writing 2 amazing stories right now. So we'll be covering that, as well as many independent things that we deem worthy of being reviewed and being talked about. So you have a ton to look forward to, especially a podcast at the end of every week. This one is coming at the middle of the week because we weren't able to do one at the end of this past week. This is sort of the introduction, letting you guys all know what's going on. And so podcast at the end of every week. Is recapitulate the word I'm looking for? Recap? Is recap a shorter version of recapitulate?
It is now.
So go with that. Don't look that up either. Don't look up recapitulate in the dictionary. Don't look up scatting in the dictionary or History Channel. Don't look it up. But
though you may want to Google image search scatting just to see what happens.
Shit flying out of mouths. So yeah, podcast. We will be recapping at the end of every week what we reviewed, what we previewed, what's going on in the world that we are focusing on, as well as talking about things that we never really got around to writing about,
and what's to come,
and what's to come. So I think that is it. We will end the podcast with an abrupt ending, so be prepared for it.
Inaugural podcast, yeah!
We should have
Thanks
a
for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We're gonna lock the woman back up after this.
He is not. It's not a we. It's gonna be him. I'm not gonna partake in that. He is gonna do that. I'm gonna just stand off in the
And
corner.
now for the abrupt.